Why are HOA fees so high in Hawaii? I'm about to tell you. There's some good reasons. And why do you have an HOA to start with? Typically it's to protect your property values, but not always. Today I'm just basically going to tell you why in Hawaii particularly they are high and how they affect your property values no matter where you live. HOAs protect your property values by having rules and restrictions, most of which the homeowners dislike, but that's the reason they live there in the first place. Your neighbor can't paint their house orange, and your other neighbor can't have his car up on jacks in the driveway working on it for weeks at a time. Additionally, the landscaping is usually maintained by the HOA, and therefore it's kind of consistently has the quality throughout the neighborhood. You know, otherwise there's always that one guy who won't mow his lawn but once a year. So this avoids that. In this office, I have high traffic of tourists. I get a lot of walk-ins in the door here. Often visitors here to Hawaii are shocked by the maintenance fees, especially when they discover what's posted on our flyers in the window is per month and not for the whole year. So when they come in and we hand them these sheets that have properties listed on them, we always list the HOA fee just so they don't go into shock. I can hear them outside when they're looking and they're like, wow, that's more than my house payment. How can that be? The high cost of living here in Hawaii is part of the reason. We are the most isolated population in the world. To get items here is not cheap in the first place. The cost of living is high, thus the cost of labor is high. So in the HOA, there's usually two fees that are really high. One is the fee for the landscapers and the fee to water all that landscaping that we pay them to cut every week. So water is not inexpensive and labor is not inexpensive. Those are real big fees that you just can't get around. The maintenance fee and the reserve fee are two different fees, but they're usually clumped together in your HOA fee. They call it the maintenance fee, but in that fee is also the reserve fee. And the reserve fee is a different animal and not as common in some parts of the country as it is here in Hawaii. Hawaii is very strict on the reserve fee, and the state requires that you are funded at least 50% of the required fee to replace everything in the association. And let me just give you an example. A roof usually lasts 30 years, and every month the HOA has to put away so much money for the future of that roof. And 50% of that funding for all those different items need to be in the reserve. I'll give you another example. The HOA usually has a reserve study. It's done by a professional, usually CPA offices, and they break everything down to when it will need to be replaced and approximate value of what it's going to cost to replace it. So I'll give you an example. At one homeowners meeting, some of the people were complaining that our fitness equipment in our facility was old and dated, and they were complaining about it. And our HOA manager took out our reserve study, turned to the equipment page, and she said, "Oh, you're in luck. We have funds now to replace it. Their lifespan is up, so you get new equipment and the money is there." And someone else said, "Well, while we're at it, can we reupholster the furniture in the sitting room in the amenity center?" And she looked in the book and she said, "Yes, we can. The life of that fabric is up and we have the money to replace it." And sometimes it works the other way. We need something, and perhaps with the sprinkler system, and it's before its life cycle, and so you have to dip into other funds to make that happen. Either way, that kind of tells you what the reserve part of your maintenance fee is, and it's basically to pay for everything forward. What's good about that is normally you won't get any special assessments. They're rare in Hawaii, and if you do get a special assessment, it's unusual, and there might be a particular reason, but it's not normal to have that special assessment. It could be to wind damage or something along those lines, a shortage from the insurance, maybe something like that. But normally you won't get those special assessments. As opposed to other areas in the United States, I buy rental properties in different parts of the country, and often I'll walk into a place and look at it and think, this isn't very well maintained, but let me see what the HOA docs are. And then when they say the HOA fee is $100 a month, I run the other direction, because I know there's nothing in the budget for a new roof or plumbing or whatever comes up in the near future. So not having that special assessment coming up should give you some peace of mind. I live in a HOA community for a reason, and many of those reasons are, as I discussed earlier, I don't want the orange house next door to me. I don't want the car up on the jacks in the driveway. But it's also a lifestyle. It's a freedom that you have. For example, I live in a single-family home with a backyard and a pool, but it's still a condominium. I don't touch anything on the outside of that home. My pool is serviced twice a week. My lawn's cut front and back and trimmed once a week, and I don't do any of that. If I need a new roof, the HOA will take care of it. If I need a paint job on the outside, the HOA will take care of it. So it's the same as living in sort of a high-rise building, but it's a single-family home that I don't have to touch. And when I do have a free minute, I can go to the beach or go play golf or do something like that instead of go pull weeds. So that's why I live there. The HOA fees vary also between one project to the next. And it's something you really almost need to study. Make yourself an Excel spreadsheet when you're looking at the different associations. I made a little note here of what my HOA fees cover. Because surprisingly, they vary quite a bit from HOA to HOA. In my fees, we have a security gate. We also have 24-hour security. Of course, the landscaping, of course, the exterior maintenance, the roof maintenance, the pool maintenance, pest control, my sewer fees, my trash pickup, my cable TV, my high-speed internet. I also have a facility in the complex itself with a fitness center and pools and barbecue areas and so on, entertainment. All of that's covered in my HOA fee. Now, brace yourself, my HOA fee is $2,500 a month. Now you can see why people say, oh, that's as much as my house payment. So it's all in what you get. But I don't want to scare you, because not all HOA fees are that high. Just mine. Okay, so let me talk about how an HOA can, we just talked about how it can protect your property values by making sure everything's maintained and your neighbors don't get crazy with paint colors and so on. But how can an HOA hurt your property values? Well, the first way is if they don't maintain the budget correctly. In other words, they don't plan for the deferred maintenance and so on. Not as likely again here in Hawaii, but I see it in other parts of the country where the board of directors, which means the homeowners that are voted in to be on the board of directors of the HOA, they're managing the budget. I don't know about you, but I can't balance my own checkbook, let alone manage a budget like that. It's more common, and certainly here in Hawaii, that an association manager is hired to run that budget and to advise the HOA how to run it. They're just more experienced in that. So if your HOA budget is mismanaged, that can really hurt you. And how can it hurt you? When a lender goes to make a loan in an HOA, a condominium complex, for example, the lender has to approve that project as a whole. So they send an inquiry to the HOA and they want to know how many units you have, how many are new, how many are old, how many are rented, how many aren't rented, a big long list. And then they may not approve loaning in your complex. Why? Because your budget is terrible. If your budget, for example, in the state of Hawaii, isn't 50% funded, you're likely not going to get, first of all, you'd be in trouble with the state. Let's start there. But other than that, you're probably not going to get any financing either. So if you have a really healthy budget, good for you, association passes with flying colors with the lender, but they can hurt you and you can have to get some hard money financing for your condominium if that's the case, if it's not well managed. The other drawback that it can hurt your property values is the restrictions that your HOA has. And again, they're not all the same, so you've really got to dig into it. I'm going to give you some examples of where I feel personally that it hurts certain values. In the resort market where I normally sell, there's a multitude of HOA complexes, condos, single-family homes, duplexes, and they all have their own rules. One rule is about renting. Well, we live in Hawaii. People come here for vacation, so naturally you would want to be able to rent your unit out if you're not here. And I'm going to give you an example of where I live. In my complex of homes and duplexes and single-family homes, there's 102 units. Only 10 of us live there year-round. The rest of the people come for 2 weeks, a month, and when they're not here, some of them want to rent. Not all of them, but some of them want to rent out to vacation renters, Airbnb, VRBO. Some complexes won't allow that, and it really hurts the value. Even if someone doesn't want to rent their unit, they usually want to be somewhere where they could if they wanted to, that they're not restricted. And where I see where that hurts the value, first of all, you have a condo for sale in this complex and a condo for sale in this complex. This one you can rent your unit, this one you can't. This one comes with vacation rentals already booked with $60,000, $100,000, $120,000 in bookings the day you close, because you're just taking over the previous owner's bookings. You would get credit for those bookings in advance. So you could close escrow and have $100,000 coming in projected rentals, where this one in the other complex doesn't allow vacation rentals, no income. You can see the difference. No open houses. That's a real killer for values. And you'd think, well, why is that? Well, here's the reason why. In a resort, we mostly make our sales to people that are here on vacation. The magic number is 3. The third time they're here, they think, if I'm going to keep coming here, I think I should buy something and then rent it out to help pay for it when I'm not here. So those people will be the ones that stop at your open house that you're having in the complex. And one of my first questions when they walk in, oh, hi, are you staying here in the complex? Yes. Oh, is this your first time? No, it's our third time. I'm like, okay, here we go. They're ready. So if you can't have any open houses in your complex because of your HOA rules, your values do not climb the way that others do. And I could drive around and show you the difference, but I'll tell you one. For example, there's a little complex, single-family homes, gated, 17 homes in the complex. They don't allow brokers opens. They don't allow open houses. They don't allow much. They want their privacy, and that privacy costs them. So we have a home listed in there for 2 years now. This home would never be on the market for 2 years otherwise. It's on an acre. It's a single family home with an ocean view and a beautiful pool and spa. Okay? We have it listed for $1.9 million. Any other neighborhood, it would be worth more. Now, take another subdivision where we're getting $2.2 million for a duplex. It's attached, it doesn't have its acre, it's attached to another home, and yet we're getting higher values for it. Why? Exposure. You put up a sign in that neighborhood and you could get 5 to 10 vacationers stopping by in the afternoon to look at it. So it's all about exposure. Do wealthy people want to rent their units? Yeah, they do. I can think of one rental unit in the resort where I live. The value of the home is $45 million. Million dollars. Okay, it rents for $200,000 a week. Is the owner here much? Not much. It gets does it get rented at those values? Yes. Corporations rent those type of properties. A lot of people rent their houses because it just makes sense. On the other hand, there's some people that, nope, I want no one sleeping in my bed when I'm not here. So there are all those kind of things you have to weigh. The most important thing you need to know is, which person are you? Are you the person that wants to paint your house orange and you don't care what your neighbors think? Or are you the person that would rather have the guidelines, even though some of them are hard to live with? But you definitely have to know that before you decide if you're going to live in an HOA or not. In another session, I'll get into the nitty-gritty of the documents. That's another whole series. It's boring, but you need to know it before you purchase, because that could really affect your purchase as well. If you got any value from this session, please point to the like button. And if you would like more information on property in Hawaii, join my Ohana, Ohana meaning family, and click the subscribe button. Until next time, aloha from Eileen.